Okay, we have a level surface that the phone is sitting on. Hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this from. I am in the truck, as you can see, and I just left the gym. I was going to make a really theatrical intro to this video, and I've decided against that just because I don't want it to slow me down. Earlier this week, I made an announcement that I'm going to be pursuing professional coaching. As you can see, I'm just trying to get to the point here. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know a little bit of my story, with my health journey and moving out here to Arizona. And it's really just given me a chance. This whole sort of tangent or fork in the road for me has allowed me to really do a lot of assessing around who I want to be, how I want to spend my time, what I want to do with some of my talents. And that led me to a year ago enrolling in a professional coaching certification program called Lumia. But I've just recently finished that program. My life is in a place where I've got a pretty cool balance where I'm making some short and long form documentaries part-time. I'm doing some consulting, and I can launch my coaching business, which I'm very, very passionate about. So I'm going to be helping people find a way to be while they navigate transformations in their lives. So I'm really, really excited to get into that. And I had a great friend of mine, Chad Miles, sit down with me for a conversation to talk about why this is a direction I want to go in, what it looks like, what coaching actually even is and what it's not. And that's all in this conversation. So whether you're just seeing this passively or you've been following my stuff for a while, I truly appreciate it. And this is a little story with Chad and I on this new direction I'm heading in. I hope you enjoy it.
Nate, here we are again, sitting back in front of the microphones. A little different topic today. So you and I have had the opportunity. We've known each other for many years now, but in the last probably 6 months or so, we've had the opportunity to work one-on-one. You as my coach, and it's been a really rewarding experience to be able to work with someone like that. It's been a new thing for me, and so I thought we could dive a little bit deeper into that. As I've just noticed that I've been able to cultivate more awareness and bring some of the things into my life that I've been wanting to for a long time. One of them being the podcast that I started recently, which you were my first guest on.
Heck yes, yes.
But that was something that I would attribute to a very direct result of some of the work that you and I have been doing over the last 6 months. And so I was hoping we could just dive a little bit deeper into that today and into some of your coaching story.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. And yeah, I wanted to tell this story about how you and I met, just because if people are watching, they're probably like, I keep seeing these two talk about each other's stuff. And, it started instantly. So years ago, it might've been, what do you think? Like 2017 or like 2018 when you showed up at our gym that day. Do you think that's when it was?
Yeah, probably right around there.
And, so Eileen, so Chad's wife, Eileen, was working with us. She started with us maybe a year or two before that. And she was this person who, we were having a staff meeting one day, and Eileen had never, I think she had come and visited us for like a separate event, had a great experience there. And so I see this girl that looks kind of familiar walking in our parking lot. So our staff meeting was like facing this window, and she just had this huge smile, and she had this like incredibly positive energy. Almost before she even like opened the door, I sort of felt what she was there to do. And she had in her hand this resume. She came to me and she said, yeah, I'd like to talk to, I think didn't she call Jared Jerry or
So,
something? Yeah. And she's like, I really love the energy of this place, and I want to work here. And just the intention that she had behind that. And I could just sense, like, I usually try to follow my gut on just how I'm experiencing someone. And I was like, that person's energy needs to be here all the time. So I walked her around the facility that day. And by the time we were done walking and she walked out and left me the resume, I went to Jared right away, and I was like, we're going to hire her. We have to. I'll tell you the story, but she's in. And then a couple of years later, I think you just came to like visit Eileen, and I'm a very curious guy. So you end up like in my office with me and talking to me, and you're telling me your story, and I'm hearing all these things about the path that you'd chosen to take and some of the pain that you'd felt and the creative realm that you were looking to get into. And that same feeling hit me where I'm like, I want to be around this energy. I want this guy to work here. So you probably were thinking like, does this guy just offer everybody jobs? Which I do not. So sadly at that time, Chad was on his own journey. I think that was during the time when you were doing your own, you were like vlogging every day for how long was that again?
It might have been. I think I made it up to 45 days of producing something every single day.
And that led to some interesting, pathways that you ended up going down. So we didn't work together then, but we've always been rooting for each other and try our best to help each other out as we're going down this kind of weird path of figuring out like who the best versions of ourselves are. So that's been a really meaningful thing for me to have someone to do that with, because it is an odd journey that not everybody can identify with,
So let's talk about your most recent journey.
Mhm.
You have landed on this sort of, I don't love the word label, but label of a transformation coach. And I want to learn more about what that means to you. But before that, I want to learn about why. Why is this the journey that you decided was the one that you wanted to take?
Yeah, that's definitely sort of a years long unfolding or whatever you want to call it, but I think a lot of my desire to get into this comes from curiosity. Like I said earlier, that is, I think, a core sort of principle or quality about me is that I'm really curious about people and I really care a lot about them and their stories. And that kind of led me down this path of the wellness space that I was describing to you. As a young person, I had some negative experiences around like my body image and a little bit of bullying and things of that nature. Then that led me into this fitness realm where I experienced a really, really profound transformation. And I wanted to give that to these other people that I was curious about and I cared about. And I wanted to kind of help them feel what I felt. It's a very common story for a lot of people that the reason we get into these, purpose missions is I felt this thing. It's profound. I got to give it to everybody. Right.
Yep.
So, the package that I was serving that in for many, many years was getting involved with Applied Fitness back in Michigan. And we worked on transformation but in the vein or in the vessel of people's health, their behavior changes and getting them moving and getting them looking at themselves differently. And that was very fulfilling to me. But this coaching thing started to sort of make itself aware known to me when I would watch the way that people interacted with the program that we were offering. And I really started to notice there was a bit of a missing piece or a missing solidifying agent involved, where if people were with us, they're spending time in our building, we're calling and checking in on them, we're there and we're present for them. They did great. But then there's times when their lives would start to sort of interrupt that cycle. And I would notice that when they were separate from us, when that crutch that we were providing was removed, they were stumbling again, and I'd hear it in the messages or when I'd call somebody, because, I formed a relationship with every person that would come through the door because I was the first guy they met with. And they'd say, "Oh man, I really fell off, not taking care of myself. I got to get back in to see you guys." And as good as it felt to kind of be that source of inspiration for people, I also felt like, dang, are we really doing, our very best if people have to keep coming back for this elixir that we're offering? Is there a way to create a more of a sustainable model that people can benefit more from, and it's more sticky? That was literally just the question in my mind. Like, how do I get people to want to do this shit on their own? And it's a powerful question. So I remember I came across just by chance. I was on YouTube or something, and I saw this guy named he's actually a prominent coach. His name's Rich Litvin. I believe he's from London, and he was doing one of his seminars or something. You know, you kind of TED Talky type stage scenario, and he's talking about this coaching that he does. And for me, like my context for coaching has always sort of been, you know, you're an athlete and the coach tells you what to do. Hey, go run the field, go do this, go do that. And you're being a good player if you just abide and follow those rules. What I've really learned, you know, in the time since then is that coaching is much more than that. And it should be a much more empowering process where that coach is helping you uncover the coach that exists within you, right? So that you no longer need somebody standing on the sideline with a whistle to get you to want to run. You run because the best version of you says, we need to prepare ourselves for this next, you know, trial that we're going to go into. So I see this Rich guy, and not Rich isn't, you know, Rich is his name. He probably
Named
is
Rich.
Rich. I think he charges a lot, but I see him on stage and he's got this person up there. It was it was some kind of high performer, and he's just asking this person questions, and they're questions that most of us would feel uncomfortable asking someone in a friendly conversation.
Hmm.
You know, if you think about being, you know, in a conversation with one of your friends and they say, hey, I'm struggling with X thing. The first thing we jump to as a friend is, well, I want to help you solve this problem. So let me provide you all these resources that I think could actually alleviate this pain for you. And this guy was not doing that at all. So this person's sitting there next to him, and they're going through this thing that they're trying to get to, you know, overcome these hurdles. And he was asking these profound questions that actually made the person think. And it was helping that person, I think, to drill down deeper into the actual reasons why they were having trouble reaching whatever that destination was. So rather than saying, oh yeah, I know the solution that's going to get you from here to there, he's saying, what's your relationship with X story that you feel like is really slowing you down in this regard? And the person's got to go, relationship with the story. Holy shit. Let me think about that for a second. And that's not something we're used to. You know, that requires reflection. It requires time. And it just spoke to me because I've been spending years and years and years being the guy who the person comes to us and says, I want to lose weight. And I go, oh, we know what to do for that. Just do this, this, and this. Well, then we wonder a year later why the person had lost and gained and lost and gained and lost and gained and lost, because we were trying to give them the wrong solutions. And those solutions weren't coming from inside of them. So that's really where I got intrigued. Obviously, there's a big health journey part of this that sort of gave me the willingness to walk in this direction. But I do think it's an important one. So, you know, I had this inspiration. I wanted to get back to working with people because I've now spent 3 years outside of the behavior change realm or the transformation realm, as you asked about. And I was like, you know, I've always been afraid to say I'm a coach. I know that's a really simple thing, but even you know, I just made my announcement the other day that you saw, and that took a lot of courage for me to put that out there and say this is what I do, because I do know what people's connotations are around this idea. I think a lot of them think what I thought, which is, oh, this person thinks they know it all and they're going to tell me what to do with my life. No, dude. I'm a coach means I am actually really interested in you, so much so that I want to dedicate my full attention to you and my full energy to you. And I want to help you dig into things that you actually don't feel safe enough digging into on your own.
Hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, as we've used this word transformation, I'm hearing you say that in many ways you've been in the, I'm going to call it the business of transformation for much of your professional career. It seems like the ways in which you were interacting with people was to help them transform with this more external thing. You come to me and I'm going to provide you solutions. I'm going to provide you answers. And hopefully that's going to lead you to your own personal transformation. And yet you kept finding that people weren't transforming in the ways that they were hoping to. And so that led you to the transformation needs to happen internally, right? Is that kind of what I'm following?
Yeah. And I honestly don't know that I had language for it when I was experiencing sort of that disconnect. And what really gave me the clarity around this is when I needed to go through a personal transformation. So I got really ill, and you and I talked about it on that podcast that we did together when you launched your show. And it became very apparent that the version of myself that I was when I found out that I was sick that was not gonna be the Nate who found his way through that. Like it just demanded a different version. So I was forced to figure out what's it actually going to take for me to create these different outcomes. And it took a big overhaul. You and I talk about operating system. I like to speak in those terms. Like I had an OS that was at a certain level. I might have been on Nate 1.0 or Nate 2.0. And a lot of the facade looked good, like we talk about with change and transformation. Yeah, okay, I worked out and I looked fine or whatever, but there was a lot of broken code in my OS that I had to be willing to go back and fix. And to me, that's what coaching does, is it helps you to go back and look at where are these pieces of code that I need to make an update in order for me to sort of rebuild from a stronger foundation rather than continually try to address this surface level foundation or the surface level facade.
So to me, maybe the difficult part about seeking out coaching is that I think we might often come from a place of I'm seeking coaching because I think that this coach is going to provide me answers. I recognize I'm somewhere in my life. There's somewhere different that I want to be, whether that's personally, professionally, health oriented, relationship oriented, whatever that's going to be. This coach is going to direct me and tell me where to go. So we almost want it to be this transaction where, hey, I'm going to pay you. Maybe it's just a couple of times. You're going to tell me where to go. We're going to part ways. We're going to feel great about it. That hasn't been my experience in actually doing coaching with you. Why is that not the solution? Why is that not the answer?
I think a lot of it comes back to, that's a hell of a question, by the way. I think a lot of it comes back to the fact that we put a lot of value in our, whether you want to call it our society or our upbringing, maybe it's even epigenetic and there are reasons for it. But we put a lot of value on the destination. So naturally, we want someone to help us to get there, right? That's why my coaching is called Getting There. And that's the first sort of paradigm shift I try to make, whether it's through my writing with people that I never even talked to, whether it's through conversations with friends, or whether it's during these coaching interactions, is that we like to tell ourselves that it's about getting to the destination, but it's actually about the vessel. It's about the thing that's getting there. It's about improving this. That's the journey, actually, is getting to this level of actualization with what we're capable of, to where we truly feel confident in ourselves. And when we have that innate confidence, we're capable of anything. So it makes all the following destinations easier because we did that baseline foundational work on who we are. So I think that's really the distinction is, I guess I'll use a quick story here where I went looking for a way to better navigate to a destination. So I did a breathwork ceremony recently that was really profound. And before the ceremony, the facilitator, her name is Anahata Ananda, by the way. She's awesome. She's here in Sedona. You guys should look her up. Anahata has you go around the room and she says, guys, let's have you choose just like a one-word intention. And then I'm going to give you a card. And the card is supposed to sort of support what your intention is. But the whole time it was going around the room, as it was getting to me, my sort of monkey mind, or whatever you want to call it. It has all these things going on. I want to start this coaching business. I want to start doing X, Y, and Z with YouTube and podcasting. And I still got to figure out a way to make money. You know, these things are constantly running, right? So I'm thinking, my word's going to be navigate. I need to figure out how to navigate this appropriately. Navigate, 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 navigate. And as she has this really, really calming and wise presence to her, even just being around her, she gets to me, and like as her attention shifted to me, I was like, being. And what a huge change from having this mindset of I need to get there right now. I need to navigate. And no, you got to figure out how to be, dude. You got to figure out, one, how to just be at peace with who you are, and figure out, what does being me look like? So then we went into the breathwork ceremony. I had, because I was able to, at the beginning there, realize, oh shit, I'm doing the thing where I try to get to the destination too quickly without doing the groundwork. I just need to be. So a big part of this coaching thing is helping people get really comfortable being who they are.
That to me is, for most people, a very scary feeling, because I think we are looking for the quick answer. I'm coming to you, you're going to give me the answer, and then I'm going to be able to leave, and I'm going to be able to kind of stay at the surface. And you're saying, no, no, no. You got to be comfortable being you. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to help probe and maybe bring some awareness. But that's a scary feeling. What is your message to someone who's like, I'm afraid to do that work? I I I'm just, that to me is I have a lot of fear around that. And I've experienced this at times in some of our coaching. It's just like, it's difficult to really reflect and do the internal work. That's hard work. It's easier to get answers. What is your message to someone around the importance, or how they can begin doing work like this?
I think it's a pretty simple one, but one that has definitely brought a tear to my eye when it's been given. And that is, I would say to them, I see you. And then I'll ask them one question, which is, what needs to be true for you to see yourself? And then I shut up. That's it. You know, like we have a voice inside of us. A great friend, Devin, you know, Devin, we worked together in the gyms for many, many years. He would always say that. He'd say, we all pretend like we don't have this voice inside of us that's guiding us, telling us what, you know, what moves would be best for us to make. We do. So I say, you know, I see you. I get it. I feel that. You might not be ready now, and that's okay. It's gonna, when you are ready, it'll be right on time. In just the experience of actually being seen and held, it's, you know, held, they say holding space for someone. That safety, you know, you talked about that fear. What's the yin and yang there? Well, we've got an immense level of fear and vulnerability. Well, what's going to be needed for this unfolding to occur? You gotta have this safe protection. And that's what it comes from, is that just that human experience of being seen.
Well, and just to share from some of my experience of us working together, I think it's one of the things that you do extremely well, is that you do create an environment that allows people to explore themselves and dig deeper into themselves, which is a difficult experience. But you provide a environment that feels safe. It feels like there's not judgment. It feels like there is patience. It feels like there's an opportunity, there's time, and there's space for me to try to figure myself out and what my journey is going to be. So I've experienced that on being on this end of the coaching, that there's just, it's okay for me to not have the answers. It's okay for me to be confused. It's okay for me to not even like all the things that I might be digging into. That is all okay. And that can all be part of my journey. And I feel like you've done a great job of creating that environment within the sessions that we have.
I appreciate you saying that. And it's obviously been really fun and meaningful to see how what you do with that space. You know, the two words that come to my mind, you said creating the space, but like culture and cultivation. Like they sound very similar because I think they are very similar in that a lot of the work, and by the way, I'm new to this. I'm going to keep learning a whole bunch about coaching, but a lot of it's been unlearning things. A lot of it's been doing less. And so much of the work that I've done so far, the most profound things that I've seen happen had nothing to do with the thing that I said. It had everything to do with what kind of culture I'm creating around the exchange. So once I can create, like you said, the conditions for somebody to actually feel those feelings, they sort of get it. And they're like, oh, when I come into this space, I'm supposed to feel this way, this way, this way. And it's okay for me to speak about this thing, and this thing. And there's just not a lot of spaces that exist in the world where you can go in and have that kind of an experience. So it's a really fun thing to continue to try to create and steward.
Well, in my encouragement, if you are listening to this conversation and if something about what Nate is saying is resonating with you, my encouragement would just be to give it a try and explore the what if, meaning what if it is possible that you could enter into an environment where you could feel safe and comfortable diving into some of the parts of yourself that you haven't explored before? What if doing that could help you learn and have a deeper understanding about yourself? What if that could bring a lot more comfortability with who you are? What if that might lead you to places that you've felt this longing to go? And that would just be my encouragement to anyone who's listening is be open and just be willing to try. And so if someone were feeling that way, what would be the next steps that they might be able to take to get in contact with you and explore a little bit more about what this coaching experience might be like?
Well, one thing I'll say before I get to that is just how okay I am with there being maybe a significant number of people who see this who go, what the hell are these two talking about? I have no interest in opening the doors that they're describing. That's fine. For a lot of my life, I've actually let that stop me from doing these things that I'm passionate about. But the more that I've been through things and the more that I've realized that, man, I really don't know why I'm here. And this is kind of a comical existence that I'm in. I should have some fun with this thing and like do things that mean something to me. Um, I'm okay with the fact that this thing is not for everybody, but I'm also very aware that there's people out there, maybe one, maybe two, three, whatever, that are listening to this who have already started cracking that door open just a little bit and they felt some things and they go, that feels right, but I'm a little unsure of how to proceed. That's who I'm really interested in engaging with, whether that means that they're reading the stuff that I write about. That I'm really passionate about writing and storytelling. And they can find my Instagram page for that. It's at Getting There Nate. I love those interactions. You can shoot me an email, nate@gettingthere.com. Chad helped me make a little website, which is gettingthere.com. So there's all different kinds of ways. Wherever you're seeing this, you can certainly comment on it. And again, reaching out to me does not need to be your first step. I just want people to feel comfortable having these reflections take place inside of them. If that happens, I'm happy. I'm a clever guy. I can figure out all different kinds of ways to make money. I do not need to make a living. I'm going to, because I'm very confident in myself in this realm. But this is much more about trying to use the truest version of me for something that I think could be a very good thing. And however that takes shape, I'm willing to surrender to.
Well, and maybe as we wrap up this conversation, I love that you inserted the word fun into there, because I think life is meant to be fun. And I think, as people may find, the journey and experience of diving into yourself and diving into transformation actually can end up being a very fun experience. I, there has
It's
not been a session that you and I have had where we haven't been laughing quite loud
yeah.
during our calls, and so I think that's a really important element, that this whole experience doesn't have to be really deep. It doesn't have to be really heavy. It doesn't have to feel all like it's a burden,
Mm-hmm.
because it can actually be really fun when you start peeling back some of those layers. And sometimes you're learning about yourself, and sometimes whether there's some interesting things, good things, bad things, whatever, you are feeling, I've just found it can be a fun experience to go
Yeah.
through it all.
I actually equate it. There's so when I send someone, when someone engages with me and they say, "Hey, I'd like to potentially work with you," I send them a brief on them, on what I understand about them after we've had a conversation. And part of it is talking about what this experience is like. And part of the reason I named it Getting There is I liken it to a big, long, like a strenuous hike, like one that you're gonna have to do some preparation for, and one that's gonna have everything. You said it's going to be fun for sure. You're going to have some laughs, and you're going to have a trail buddy there that you're able to have, like, look at things in new ways, and see things and have these realizations. And also there is going to be some, some tough uphills where you gotta really sort of hunker down and do the work. So it's all of those things. That's why I love it. So yeah, that's actually the reason I named it Getting There, is because it is sort of all of that stuff. And I know this because you've put how many miles on your you told me the other day, 233 hiking miles since you started van life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually those hikes go something like this. The planning phase is like, this is going to be great. And then you get to the hike that morning, and the first 2 or 3 miles, you're all giddy and you're like, this is awesome. Then the sun gets a little higher in the sky and you run out of snacks, and it gets a little tougher a little bit. But then you end up making it all the way to the top, and you see these incredible colors that you never thought you'd experience. And you see the things in the distance in a different way. And you go, man, that was worth it. I can't wait till next time. And that's what I think personal growth is. Once you really start to experience it, you just want more and more.
I think that's the perfect analogy for my hiking experiences. They've all gone that way. And for my experiences in coaching, it's been very similar.
Yeah.
Times when it's great, times when you're on top of the world, times when it's tough. But ultimately, if you keep going on the journey, there's just incredible things waiting on the path to getting there. So thanks for sharing all your perspective.
Thank you, Chad. Always appreciate you. I'm so excited for everything that you're doing. I will be always at your side, trying to help you get there, whatever that means for you. Yeah, this has been fun.